Swadika and good evening and welcome to Thai PBS World Tonight. I'm nabbed.
I'm Tulip Naksumphopla.
We'll begin tonight with the latest on the COVID-19 situation as we've been warned that there are new clusters surrounding entertainment venues, particularly in Thong Lon neighborhood in Bangkok, has now found 15 infections already. And this is according to the Disease Control Department, which announced today. The entertainment venue in Thong Lon was closed for disinfection. Its first infected case was a 24-year-old man who went to an entertainment venue with his friends on March 25th and tested positive for COVID-19 on March 29th. Other cases were also discovered through proactive screening, which includes a 26-year-old and a 29-year-old woman. They also went to an entertainment venue in the Ramanai neighborhood as well. There's also another case in Thong Lon, which is a 37-year-old man who went to an entertainment venue on March 22nd and was admitted to hospital on March 27th. There are another 9 people connected to him who have been infected with COVID-19 as well. In a similar case, it has also been reported that a 19-year-old student infected with COVID-19 was linked to another entertainment venue in Salaya area of Nakhon Pathom province. And this came after a musician was recently infected last week, prompting the venue to temporarily close for 2 weeks for disinfection as well. And in light of the situation, Mahidol University issued a statement which says that 336 students who have been in close contact with the infected person have been tested for the virus, and so far 6 of them tested positive and are receiving treatment in hospitals. As well as those who have been tested negative were asked to quarantine themselves for 14 days. As for the latest figures, Thailand recorded 58 new COVID-19 cases today, as well as 58 new recoveries as well. Of the new cases, 45 are local transmissions and 13 are imported cases. As for the cumulative infections since early last year are 28,947. 1,247 others are still being treated in hospitals, and the death toll remains at 94. So basically, the Disease Control Department said that there are new clusters that are connected to entertainment venues, and they actually said that apart from the previous clusters in fresh markets, the entertainment venues is something that needs to be a big concern.
Well, if you remember, when it first spread into Thailand, one of the clusters that the authority was very worried about, beside the boxing ring, is the entertainment venue in Bangkok. Yes. When people still, even though most people just stay home and try to do this social distancing, there's still some group of people that go out and party at night and then get mingle and not wearing masks and turn up to be infected.
And the entertainment venues is actually prone to make people mingle with each other and get really close, and they would tend to forget about the social distancing measures that they need to do. And we can imagine that the entertainment venues are sort of like cramped together.
Right.
People would
cozy.
dance. Yeah, cozy, that sort of thing. It's like
cozy.
People will like get really close to each other and dance and mingle, all these things.
Right.
Yeah. So it's very easy to like get infected with COVID-19.
There's a reason though when it was really worrisome back at the beginning that the authority or the government just closed down all these nightclubs and night entertainment because of that very reason. And now it's all open to business, and people just have to remember to be more careful, or as careful as when we first learn about this pandemic.
Right.
Anyway, let's move on to the next story. It's about former Prime Minister Yingluck. If you remember that every time we talk about her and the court case, there'll be a story about the rice scheme, the rice pledging scheme.
Yep.
And now the Central Administrative Court ruled today that an order issued by the Finance Ministry in 2016 demanding that former Prime Minister Yingluck pay 35 billion baht Compensation to the state for losses incurred in her administration scandalous. The government-to-government rice deals. The court reasoned that the irregularities occurred at the operational level, while Yingluck was only involved in the memoranda of understanding for the trade agreements, and that she had nothing directly to do with actual transactions. The court also said that the finance ministry had no evidence to prove that Yingluck had done anything which had damaged the state. On Monday, Central Administrative Court ordered former Commerce Minister Bunsong Teriyapirom, former Deputy Commerce Minister Phum Sarapon, and 3 former senior commerce officials to pay the Thai state 14.7 billion baht in compensation for damage caused by the state to the state by the G2G rice deals. The 3 other former officials are Manat Soiploy, former Director General of Foreign Trade Department, Thikampon Natwaratat, former Deputy Director General of Foreign Trade Department, Akkarapong Thipwachara, former Director of Foreign Trade Office. Meanwhile, Vicha Mahakun, a former member of the National Anti-Corruption Commission, said that the Central Administrative Court's ruling is not yet final because the government can appeal the decision to the Supreme Administrative Court. Dr. Warong Dr. Warong Detkit Vikrom, acting leader of Thai Pakdi Party and the whistleblower on this case who exposed the rice scandal, said that he was surprised by the ruling, but will respect it, while urging the government to appeal.
So basically, Yingluck has been spared from having to pay the compensation for the rice deal scandal. And for many years, the rice pledging scheme has been a big scandal ever since she was overthrown.
If we look at the government as a big company, and if the company has something not transparent going on, like end up in a court case and the employee got convicted for something involved with that company, would the CEO of the company get convicted or have to pay compensation too? I mean, I don't know, we cannot, criticize a court ruling, but it's something to think about.
Yeah, and speaking of the scheme, it has always been criticized ever since they came up with this idea. And then since the Yingluck administration came up with this, it has always been criticized. And once the administration was overthrown by the junta leader, it became another issue here. And many of the ministers have been sentenced to jail because of it, because of the irregularities that occurred.
Anyway, it's not done yet. It will be an appeal.
Yeah.
Seems like.
And back to COVID-19, we might have noticed that like in Bangkok, there are checkpoints once again, because last year we don't see any of them because of the pandemic, and now they are back with the regular checkpoints since yesterday, and so far they have already booked 3 offenders for driving under influence in less than an hour since it has been implemented. The police detected blood alcohol content, or BAC, as high as 123 units, which is around 0.1% per 100 milliliters of blood in one of the motorists who was driving along Pasir Manukit Road. The law states that a person with a BAC over 5 units per 100 milliliters is considered legally intoxicated and is not permitted to drive. He was immediately sent to the appropriate police station and bailed for 20,000 baht. The drunk driver could also face a fine of between 5,000 baht and 20,000 baht. However, although there are checkpoints around Bangkok, the public can also file official complaints about illegitimate police checkpoints as well through the 2 hotlines 1197 or 1599.
Okay. So yeah, not even an hour, and they got already 3, and you can't imagine how many you will find in 24 hours. And this is like just the beginning of, before the Songkran holiday.
We can expect a lot more during the Songkran holidays because people would be going out partying. Well, Yeah, we might be saying that there is a COVID-19 pandemic. People
Yes.
should refrain from partying, but there's got to be some people who breach all the rules.
Anyway, if you're not sure whether the checkpoint you see is legal or legitimate, I mean, if it's legitimate, usually there will be like a number or something, a code on the vest, whereby the police officers, if you don't see that, or if you think it might not be legitimate, just give a call to that hotline.
Yep, so it's 1197, and there's another hotline which is 1599. You can double check with these two hotlines if you're not sure whether the checkpoints are actually legitimate.
Now let's move on to speed limits. In this case, the Thai government just increased the speed limit of the first road implementing yesterday, April 1st as the first day, to 120 kilometers per hour. This is at Bang Pa-in Highway to the Ang Thong intersection, covering 50 kilometers, and it's set to expand to the second phase to cover the central, northeast, and south routes with a distance of approximately 260 kilometers by this August. The Thai PBS team tested out the 120 kilometers per hour speed limit in the right lane and found that the interchange entrances and exit, there would be yellow rumble strips to alert drivers that they were entering and exiting the speed limit zone. U-turns are now closed off by barriers. It is also found that the cars in front of the team wouldn't speed up to 120 km speed limit, while vehicles like trucks and lorries would also use this lane, and if there were a large numbers of cars, then drivers would not be able to speed up to 120 km per hour limit as well. So not sure how it's going to work out. Then the second phase that is planned to be initiated in August will cover routes in central, north, northeastern, and southern regions with a distance of approximately total of 260 kilometers, such as Highway number 32, Ang Thong Singburi, Highway 1, Hang Nam Nong Khem to Nakhon Sawan, Highway 2, Bo Thang, Mo Chabok, and Highway 4, Khao Wang Sapra. Ready to continue further on the main highways such as Highway 1, Highway 2, Mitraphab Road, Highway 42. There's so many other roads that will be a total of 1,760 kilometers in December 2021. So by the end of this year, there will be a total of over 1,760, but right now only 50 kilometers is the pilot project, and seems like there's already a little bit of hiccup, but it's just first 2 days. I'm sure they're going to adjust it later.
Right, and now let's move on to another story. 4 additional suspects have been arrested in the arms smuggling case that is reportedly from southern of Thailand to the Thai-Myanmar border near Masai district in Chiang Rai province. The police suspect the arms had been imported for government use but were smuggled to drug rings in Myanmar, and investigations are currently underway to confirm their origin and exact destinations. Like we said, there are 4 suspects in this case, and one of the suspects sent off the illegal arms from the southern part to the central part of Thailand, and the other 4 just sent them to Masai. They have already admitted to shipping the ammunition and the grenades found in mail packages. The development follows the arrest of 2 other smugglers shipping the illegal arms through a private mail delivery service in late March to Masai district in Chiang Rai province, which is adjacent to the Myanmar border. The 2 suspects arrested earlier had been charged for possessing illegal ammunition and grenades. The police have found traces of these smuggled arms in 3 provinces, namely Chonburi, Nakhon Pathom, and Nakhon Si Thammarat, which led to the arrest of the 4 suspects.
These are huge lots of firearms and stuff and ammunitions, and it's all has been carried through by the private shipping company. I'm just wondering whether there was or there were any that actually slipped through the checkpoint or authority before this.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Anyway, let's move on to Suwannapum Airport. The transport minister is trying to push for the second terminal to be built and expanded. The Ministry of Transport has brushed aside a suggestion by the Anti-Corruption Organization of Thailand that it should postpone plans to build a 42 billion baht second terminal for Suwannapum International Airport. Transport Minister said that the second terminal is necessary. Mr. Saksayam Chitchop said that he would take into consideration the recommendation by the National Anti-Corruption Commission or NACC to ensure that the project is transparent. He said that he is a forward-looking person and is fully aware of the corruption problem because in his capacity as the minister, he will be held accountable if graft in the project is uncovered. Saksayam said that he has not seen the AOT's letter addressed to him voicing concerns about the project, adding that he would like the NACC to examine all the projects implemented by his ministry. A number of other major infrastructure projects have been rife with corruption, and the ministers responsible face legal consequences. Earlier, the Association of Siamese Architects voiced opposition to the second terminal proposed by the Airports of Thailand company, which is affiliated with the Transport Ministry, saying it will not benefit passengers or ease overcrowding. The project was put on hold in 2019 by then Transport Minister Akom Termpithaya Phaisit, after a review by the National Economic and Social Development Council. The original blueprints for the airport included plans for another terminal located in the south of the main terminal. In the new plan proposed by the AOT, the second terminal will be located closer to the main terminal and there will be a monorail line to shuttle passengers between the two. I think the monorail is something that a lot of airports, international airports in other countries have been doing. Because if it's so far from each other, it takes a lot of time to walk across the building. Monorail is probably a better idea.
Definitely, because in many of the airports, well, doesn't have to be like in Thailand, it could be other countries around the ASEAN. They have monorails that link between from terminal to terminal, which is a lot easier for the passengers to travel. Just like you said, if you walk from like different buildings, it's very time consuming here.
Just in the what they already have existing now at Suwannapum Airport, from one end to another, it's a distance already. And if you build another terminal, and probably a good idea to have monorail.
You must have a monorail because it will be like, if there's no monorail, it would take like forever to like walk.
Unless they'll have a reason they want people to exercise, like keep moving, and I don't know.
I think it would be way too exhausting to exercise that way, because like from one terminal to another terminal, that would be very time consuming. Because if we imagine being in the airport, like,
with the connection flight, you have to run.
Yes, that is like the worst thing you could ever ask for. Like even like you're from the, where is it, where you check in and going to the gate, it's already time consuming already. But if you have to move from this terminal to another terminal or a different building, it would be like.
Imagine if you said you are at this gate on Terminal 1 and you get there, it's almost the boarding time, then you realize they changed the gate in a different terminal.
That's painful here. It's like you thought that it was going to be like this gate, and then all of a sudden they changed the gate, they changed the time, all these things. You have to rush to another side, and that's
fun
like,
time.
Not really, especially when you're in a rush and you realize that you're about, what was it, like you're sort of late, and then you're about to miss the flight. That would be painful.
The last passenger under the name Nat Bunnak. The last passenger under the name Nat Bunnak. Please report to the counter. Something like that.
And then you will have to run so hard, like imagine like you're running for the Amazing
And there's
Race.
a chance that when you walk into the airplane, there will be like some people collapse because you're the last one. Anyway, let's move on to the last story of tonight. We have a column of Friday by Kitipat Chun Sukjit. Today he will take us to a neighborhood called Captain Bush Lane. Let's take a look.
I'm walking along Suvarnabhumi Road in Bangkok district of Bangkok, and I see this area that has been named after a foreigner, Captain Bush. This neighborhood in Suvarnabhumi Soi 30 is now called Captain Bush Lane. It was home to many members of Bangkok's early European expatriate community during the 19th and 20th centuries, including Captain John Bush, an influential English sea captain.
In 1857, Captain John Bush was appointed harbour master of the Central Harbour Department by King Rama IV. He held that position for 30 years, serving Kings Rama IV and V. He became Admiral Bush and was granted the royal title of Proya Visut Sakondit. His contributions to Siam, as Thailand was called at that time, were highly valued by both the kings deserved.
The many coffee shops and art galleries here have made Captain Bush Lane a heaven for cafe hoppers and street art lovers. And for anyone who appreciates the beauty of the historical buildings, one can easily fall in love with this neighborhood.
150 meters into Captain Bush Lane, on the left, you will see a creative space called Warehouse 30. During the World War II, the Japanese built these warehouses to store military supplies. The warehouses were left intact after the war. Today, the Bangkok community has come together to build awareness and appreciation of this neighborhood's heritage. The campaign is spearheaded by one of Thailand's prominent architects, Ruangrit Bunnak. The original warehouses have now been converted into shops, cafes, restaurants, and galleries, a far cry from all the machinery and locomotive parts kept here in the past. Venture a little deeper into the lane and you will find the Portuguese Embassy, the oldest diplomatic residence in Thailand. It was first established on land granted by King Rama II in 1820 as a factory.
This is a truly extraordinary work of art from the Scratching the Surface project. This is a wall etching created by Portuguese artist Vils, which stretches along the white wall of the embassy. And do you know that many tourists come to this neighborhood just to see this work of art?
Besides the gorgeous Portuguese wall art, there's Sea Praya Pier, where you can catch the Chao Phraya Express boat service. Walking past the pier, on the right, you will see an elegant neoclassical style building with a central pediment at the front and beautiful Roman curves on the doors and windows. This is house number 1. The original building was the office of the former French distillery company. It became house number 1 because Bangkok district regarded it as the property of the Privy Purse and honored it with the number 1. The Crown Property Bureau considers it to be a structure of historical value, representing genuine neoclassical architecture. Next to house number 1 is a warehouse. It is the only remaining structure of the Louis T. Leonovan's company, built in the vernacular style. Some of the historical buildings in this neighborhood were, unfortunately, demolished to make room for the new projects, such as the Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation and Captain Bush House. Even so, there are still many beautiful examples of architecture to be discovered in Captain Bush Lane.
I think Kun Kitipat is pretty tired after exploring Captain Bush Lane.
I was gonna say, you look very relaxing.
Yeah.
There is actually a spa at Warehouse 30. You can just walk in there and have a little massage or something.
Definitely. And that is all for Thai PBS World Tonight. You can catch the latest updates on COVID-19, Thai politics, as well as evergreen news on our website, thaipbsworld.com, as well as our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, as well as TikTok. And that wraps up tonight's edition of Thai PBS World Tonight. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Monday. สวัสดีค่ะ